With a rebel yell, she cried more, more, more. I didn't know the rebel was still in me. Remember when we were teenagers? We rebelled against curfews, we rebelled against dress codes, we rebelled against, well, pretty much anything our parents told us to do. We were Generation X, the latchkey kids, the skeptics. Well, I've got news for you. It's time for one last rebellion. And this might be the most important one of our lives. It's not about loud music or ripped jeans, piercings or tattoos, none of which I've got anymore. It's about time. Specifically, it's about refusing to accept the narrative that says we have to grind until we're 67 or 68 or dead, just to enjoy a few years of freedom when our knees have already given up. Today, I'm talking about the 50s rebellion, why 55 is the new 65, and how I'm just realizing that my walking away from the rat race wasn't just a financial decision. It was a structural rejection to a system that's broken. To quote Billy Idol, with a rebel yell, we cry more, more, more. If you were like me last year when I was in my 50s and you're sort of tired of that deferred life plan, stick around. I escaped. So maybe you can start planning an escape as well. By the way, Billy Idol is 70. God, he looks good, especially for all the drink and drugs. Let's talk about the deal that we have with the society that we signed up as a Generation X. Back in the 20th century, that's when we started working. Can you believe that? Anyway, back in the 20th century, there was this sort of industrial contract. You work hard for 40 years, you stay loyal to the company, and in exchange, you get that gold watch and that gold clock, a guaranteed pension that takes care of you until the end. Brilliant. Well, that was a deal of our parents, maybe. The boomers, that's what they got, mostly. And I've talked about this at length on this channel, so check the videos here if you're new to all of this. And, oh yeah, please like and subscribe and all of that. Much appreciated. But anyway, back for us in our 40s, or in my case, 50s. That contract has sort of, just disintegrated. The pensions are gone, replaced by 401ks, apparently, if you're in the US, and workplace pension alternatives if you're in the UK. Basically, it's sort of on us, to take the risk. And the fact that when I started working, the whole idea of pensions was purely voluntary. Then you take on the fact that the retirement age keeps moving. It was 65, then it's 67, possibly going to 68. And in some regions, they're talking about it becoming 70. Moving that retirement age, making that retirement age even later is a sort of hot political agenda point in many European countries. Norway's talked about increasing it until you're 70. There were riots in Paris and France when they suggested, raising their very nice retirement age, which is a lot younger than the rest of Europe. So yeah, it's a big thing, increasing that retirement age. The system is essentially saying, give us your best years, your healthiest years, and we'll release you when your utility as a worker and your capacity for joy has, diminished. Thank you and goodbye. I say thank you. You're lucky if you get that nowadays. Sorry, we're all having to make you all redundant. Goodbye. I mean, it sounds harsh, right? The central grievance of this rebellion is the realization that your golden years, papa, golden years, are often a biological fallacy. That's certainly what I began to realize. I mean, how many people do you know and how many tales have you been told about people who sort of held on to work until that last moment just to get that little bit of extra money in their pension pot and all of that, only then to leave work and then get a chronic illness. Or while they're hanging on until that last moment at work, they get a chronic illness anyway and have to leave early. We're living longer, sure, but our health life expectancy, that's the key figure. Yeah, the years we spend without disability or kind of old age holding us back, well, that has not kept pace with us living longer. So yeah, if you wait until you're 67 or 70, as the case may be, to start living your life, you might find that the car is still running, yeah, but the suspension is shot and the tyres are bowled. Or in my case, my head, slippy here. This is why we rebel. This is certainly why I felt I had to rebel. We're racing against the biological decay. It was definitely one of the key drivers for me. I wanted to enjoy my freedom while I still could and while I was still healthy. ish. Basically, I'm trying to recapture what sociologists call that active decade, that window between 55 and 65. In a previous video, in fact, many videos, I've talked about, the 3 stages of retirement. Your go-go years, your slow-go years, and your no-go years. And how, I want to optimize those go-go years. That's what the active decade is. That's what that sweet spot between 55 and 65 is if you've still got your health. You still have your physical vitality. You still have your kind of cognitive sharpness. And if you pull this off, you have freedom from labor. That's the key thing. It's the only time maybe in your adult life that those 2 things overlap. It's a precious window of opportunity. And it's a window I was very happy to leap through. There's a book by Bill Perkins called Die with Zero, and he talks about the time buckets. The idea is that a dollar spent on a ski trip at age 55 has a much higher joy yield, get much more joy out of it than a dollar spent on the same trip at age 85. I did a whole video covering this concept of Die with Zero, so you should definitely check it out here. When we rebel at 55 or 57, as it was in my case, we aren't just quitting a job. We're maximizing those memory dividends. We're banking experiences now that we can reflect on when we're 80. If you wait until that traditional retirement age, you miss the compounding interest on those memories, just like I missed the compound interest on not starting my pension 10 years earlier. Oh well. There's more and more people my age or in their 50s considering quitting, taking early retirement. And is it because we're Generation X? Why are we the ones that are saying enough? Maybe it's not a coincidence. Look at how we grew up, Generation X. We were the latchkey kids, yeah? We came home to empty houses, made our own snacks and figured it out, We have an ingrained sense of independence in us. We're naturally skeptical of institutions and all of that. We don't trust that state pension will actually be there for us like it was for our parents. Without getting too political, the future ain't looking too bright if you're relying on the state pension. You're going to have to find an alternative. We didn't trust the government when they said, just say no. And we don't trust them now. And we don't trust them now when they say, just wait until you're 67. And for many, we're also the sandwich generation, taking care of aging parents and supporting our kids at the same time. We see the fragility of life close up with our parents. We see the struggle of the economy with our kids. My fiance's son, he's 24, works in the city, nice job, still lives at home with his mum. Because he doesn't have a choice if he wants to stay in London, because apparently you need an average of about £48,000 just for a deposit in a flat in London. How does anyone joining the new workforce in London actually find a house or buy a house? They don't have a choice. They've got to stay at Casa Mum and Dad for as long as they can. I've seen adverts on TV which play on this kind of concept of a guy in his 30s, sitting on the sofa next to his mum watching TV. And then the voiceover says, time to get a mortgage. The fact that this notion is a meme says a lot. And that pressure cooker, looking after the kids, looking after our parents, it creates a binary choice. You either succumb to the grind until you drop, or you radically restructure your life to exit the system as it is right now. For me, and when I read the comments, this is clearly something for many people. Get his canoe. The pandemic was a real accelerant. It was a sort of mortality salience event. Many people then looked in the mirror and realized, wait, I could die. Why am I sitting on this Zoom call all day? And wait a minute, my work-life balance is all messed up. There has to be a better way. As I said, this really was an accelerant that really lit the fire for me to retire early. Now, I'm not going to bore you with spreadsheets, and I know for many this rebellion call may not sound realistic. I don't have a choice, I'm going to have to work all my life. I get it, but rebellions need weapons. And believe it or not, the system has escape hatches built into it if you know where to look. Apparently in the US, there's this rule, something called the Rule of 55. It's a little known provision that lets you access your current employee's 401k penalty-free if you leave the job when you turn 55 or later. And apparently HR doesn't usually advertise this, and why would they? It's a kind of loophole they don't tell you about. And if you're in the UK, you're facing a completely different battle, of course. The age at which you can start taking your pension, I'm talking your work pension here, but work-based pension, is rising from 55 to 57 in 2028. So for us British folk, the rebellion is a race against the clock to unlock that freedom. The point isn't about the specific tax code. The system, however it's structured, is designed to keep your money locked away until you're old. The rebel in us needs to know the codes to break out while we're still young enough to enjoy it and release that money, or at least find a way that we're not sort of trapped into it or locked into it, or at least to find a way to unlock that money, or at least free us up from having to wait around for that money before we're finally released from the prison of work. So here's the trap and the big fear holding many potential rebels back. And this is the part nobody really talks about. The hardest part about retiring in your 50s isn't the money. It definitely is the question of who am I? I think when you retire at 65, 67, you have those similar questions, but you kind of know it's coming. Retirement age, that you're a retiree, really, and everybody looks at you and they see your age in your face and they go, yeah, he's a retiree, he's retired, and it all makes sense. I think when you retire in your 50s or you're 55, people look at you a bit funny because you look a bit too young to retire. Well, not everybody, but you know what I mean. And sometimes when I say it to people, oh, I've retired, they kind of look at me and think, what? Eh? It doesn't make sense to them. And then that makes you question, who are you? What is your worth? Am I retired? Does nobody respect me or recognize me? Now I'm not a senior executive at such and such company. For 30 years, you've been a manager, a director, a nurse, an engineer. You know, your ego is wrapped up in that business card. Do people still have business cards? Anyway, showing my age there. So if you quit at 55 without a plan, you do risk that sort of grey depression. You lose your status, your routine, your social contract. This is something I considered a lot, and I mean a lot, before I quit. I prepped for this. The rebellion isn't about stopping work. It's about unretirement. It's about moving from the productivity cult that we're in to the sort of passion economy, doing something you really want to do in life. Maybe you leave the corporate boardroom to start a woodworking business or dog walking business or whatever it is you want to do, or a side hustle. Maybe you become a consultant on your own terms or something. Or like me, and apparently lots of other men in their 50s who like to go for walks with a camera, start a YouTube channel, whatever. Maybe you take a grey gap year, you know, like when students, they took their gap year, you know, when they were sort of leaving school before they went to university or just after university. Why not take a grey gap year now and just travel and decompress? This is very much the barista fire concept. You know, where you leave the high-stress career, take a job just to cover the grocery bills and let your investments grow on the side. Or you swap bad stress, you know, the deadlines, the politics of the office, for good stress, you know, mastering a craft, physical challenges, all of these things. Okay, so here's the manifesto for the level 50 rebel. Yeah? We refuse to trade our health for wealth, only to spend that wealth trying to buy back our health later. We refuse to wait for permission to live our lives. We're taking back the active decade. If you're 50, 52, 54, run the numbers. Look at the rule of 55 if you're in the US. See what your company's pension options are in the UK. Look at your current lifestyle. What can you cut? What can you sell? I mean, all that stuff you've accumulated. Oh my God. Do you need it all? Would you be happy taking a stress-free part-time job? Is there a side hustle that you already do that you could kind of expand on just to cover your basic living? If you can get your basic living costs down, making that leap is a lot easier than you think. Because I promise you, the freedom of waking up on a Tuesday morning with nothing in your calendar, but what you choose to do is worth more than an upgrade for that luxury car. The system wants you to work until you're 67. I say no. Let's rebel against that. Anyway, if you're planning to escape or you've already made the jump, let me know in the comments down below. What's your rebellion number? And of course, if you like this channel, then please hit the likes, because I like it, YouTube likes it, and it helps people like you find content just like this. And if you're new to my channel, or one of the 83% of people who watch my content on a regular basis and haven't got round to it yet, could you please hit that subscribe button, toggle that notification bell, And that way you'll know when I upload videos like this every Wednesday and every Saturday. And if you want to see more videos like this, then why don't you check out the videos right here? See the ones here? Yeah. Oh, you'll love them. Thanks for watching.